morning, guys. Good morning. There won't be no action today unless someone meets up with me in the street. I'm in Chadderton. I'm walking round South Chadderton. And yesterday, I must say, congratulations to Arut Shah, a star-studded performance yesterday. Deborah Abrams, Angela Rayner, Jim McManaman, Joanne Anderson, the new mayor of Liverpool, who's took Joe Anderson's position. These are some of the star-studded, the stars of the political left who were in Chadderton yesterday. Also, we had Unite the Union members. I've talked about Unite the Union several times. A lot of scandal around Unite the Union. A lot of scandal around Len McCluskey and a lot of people to do with Unite the Union, who, by the way, funded the Labour Party to the tune of 12 to 14 million in the 2019 general election. I'm on Stock Lane, headed up to Lansdowne and Fields New Road. So if you're in the Chadderton area, I've got an empty cup on me and I'm not going to throw it on the floor. But there's chippy stuff and all that there. I'm going to keep my cup on me until I come to a bin. That's me. I'm not just going to throw anything on the floor. So I'm going to go. I'm around Chadderton. And I've got a lot to say about all the people who came supporting Arut Shah yesterday. I mean, there's lots of stuff going on about it, but the worst thing is political correctness. If we live in a country where a woman can't stand up, don't matter who they are, don't matter where they come from, if a woman can't stand up in her own community without her own community members putting her down and slandering her, this weren't anyone white, this was her own community members. If that's England, then we're in the wrong country. It's wrong. It's wrong. And it's political correctness. Oldham is steeped with political correctness. Before I was active, 30, 40 years ago, political correctness steeps in Oldham. I can give you an example of 20 years ago, which was the Oldham Bradford riots and Gavin Opley, the murder of Gavin Opley. Steeped in political correctness, all that. Involving in the riots was drugs, rape charges. These were all things to do with the riots and Gavin Opley's death. In Gavin Opley's death, one of the guys who was accused had charges of rape and drugs charges dropped to shop somebody else in. That's what happened in the Gavin Opley case. And there's a scandal brewing already, child sexual exploitation, and Debbie Barrett Cole, talking to her once, and she was saying that cases in Oldham are linked to cases in other parts of the country, which we know happens in these rape gang cases. Now, why doesn't anyone say anything about it? Political correctness. That's why people don't say anything about it. Political correctness. These people are this, that, and the other, so we don't say something and we don't call out. We don't say that a spade is a spade. We say that a spade is a fork. Political correctness has no room in our society. It absolutely has no room in our country. And I am ashamed to say I have been politically correct. And I'm guessing a lot of people would have been done something politically correct in their life. It's not your fault. We've been indoctrinated with this from an early age. We've been indoctrinated in this through the media. We've been indoctrinated with this through our politicians. So we have to call them out. It's wrong. I can't be arrested for saying it's wrong because it's my free speech. It's been proved it's wrong. So a root Shah stood in her own community, which is Glodwick, a couple of miles that way, and got slandered off the people in her community, men who run the community in her community. Then moved to South Chadderton here, I'm at the flats, South Chadderton, just outside the Crown pub, and moved here, which is a more white area, where they voted her in because they're all politically correct. It's wrong. It's wrong and it has to be called out. She should have been able to stand in her own community. And what it was, nobody really said anything. There was no consequences. I would expect something like that to be consequences of people being ousted out of the Labour Party as Labour Party members who have done this to a root Shah. But no, we don't have equal. It's politically correct in Oldham. And I'm going to be running in the next elections. As soon as I'm registered, I'm going to start emailing all the candidates around Oldham, as far as Saddleworth. As a registered voter in Oldham, I have a say. And you'll get the emails. You'll get the emails. And one of my biggest things is going to be political correctness. And it's going to be stamped out. It's got to be stamped out in our country. It's letting people get murdered. Girls are being raped. No one's saying anything. The police are covering up crimes because of it. Councillors are blaming the girls. And I proved all this is all in the open stinking domain. If anyone wants to come on my show, question anything I said, get down to Chadderton now and I'll talk to you. I'm just headed down Fields New Road now. Come out and talk to me in Chadderton. Don't be frightened. I'm not going to bite anybody. But don't come at me being aggressive and swearing if you want to debate with me. But I'm in Chadderton. I'll be here for at least the next hour. So if you want to come and see me, come and talk to me, and I'll tell you the truth. I'll tell you the things that other people won't tell you. I'm not being racist in pointing it out. I'm just pointing out obvious things. We're supposed to have equality in the UK, and we don't have any equality. There's no equality anywhere. There's no equality anywhere. Political correctness means that minority communities trump the majority community. It's as simple as that. And there's no room for it. And it's not just dividing or against one particular community. Political correctness affects every community in a town. Every community affects political correctness. Every stinking community. So it doesn't matter where you come from, what race, ethnicity, really, it affects you. And it's a very decisive tool. I mean, the left use it very well. Like I said, out that star-studded cast, I was in Angela Rayner's town just the other day, pointing out the bloodbath on her streets, 16-year-olds stabbing each other, a shop full of blood. She hasn't said anything about that. If I would have been able to talk to her, I would have asked her about the price of immigration into Ashton-under-Lyne. So I would have said, does it mean that we should get all this crime, all these sex attacks and stuff like that? No, it doesn't. We shouldn't. We should be able to have some kind of control. But people are blind, idiotic. They don't want to get involved in politics because it looks too hard and all that's not hard. Politics is about speaking the truth, being honest, and doing your best for your community and your towns across England. What we need to come together more. I mean, when I went to Batley, these people aren't from Batley. But Batley was a very a garment town. They made all sorts, and their cotton come from Oldham, which come from Liverpool. So we're intricately linked. All these towns and areas were intricately linked through trade in the past and stuff like that. We need to get out of this isolationist bit where it's just my town, it's my town. That doesn't stink no more. If you're going to carry on like that, then we're going to have no country left. We're going to have no country left. We're not going to have any country left if you're going to be my town, my town. It should be our country, our country. Oh, show you where I am now. the Crossley Centre. Star-studded castle. Angela Rayner, obviously. Don't talk about the bloodbath and all the rapes going on in the town centre in Ashton, or anything like that. She don't want to talk about that. She don't want to talk about the price of immigration, what it makes Ashton underline look like a shithole. Jim McManaman. Oh, Roo, I'm so sorry for your distress. No, oh, Roo, we're going to deal with these guys who've done this. We're going to find out who they are, and we're going to kick them out of the Labour Party. That's what should have been said at the beginning, but it never got said, so they had to move her to a cushy white area where they'd vote her in. Honestly, it's just wrong. It's just so wrong. It is. And political correctness is going to carry on dividing us. I'm going to be in the council local elections. I'm going to be in the council hall. I'll be emailing all the councillors when I'm registered. And I'll be emailing you my concerns. I'll be emailing you about political correctness in our town and what it's caused over 30 years. Like I said, 20 years ago, I wasn't politically active, but we had Oldham Bradford riots and Gavin Opley's death, and both them things was blamed on political correctness, lack of integration. Oh no, people are so blind. I'm in South Chadderton. I'm on my way down to Bomberfield's new road now, and I'll hang around the centre there for a while, but I'm in South Chadderton. If you're a South Chadderton resident, come out and talk to me. I'm not nasty. You'll get a very good talk out of me, and even if you're left-leaning, you'll find a lot of things I'll agree with you and stuff like that. So come out and talk to me. I'm going to try and do more of this at all different areas around Oldham. I'll do a live and I'll go around talking to people and seeing what they think. We have to be more involved. I mean, obviously, I want to look after my ward, my community, but we should be thinking about our town as a whole. A lot of the issues to do with our towns and cities now is not one thing. It's part of a big whole of things. So we need to look into that. So councillors need to come together better from the different wards. You need to stop being, oh, I'm too posh up Saddleworth for them down in Oldham. You need to stop being like that. That's not going to work. That's a class dividing. It's not going to work. And you'll end up going down the politically correct road if you do that. So you better buck up. I'm not afraid to speak to anyone. I'm not afraid to set my personal views and stuff like that. As a lot of you know, I put a lot of facts up all the time. A lot of my stuff is ONS figures, which are local government figures. And they're as reliable as you're going to get. And if they tell you we've got high immigration, they're not lying. But they don't tell you these things. They don't tell you these things. So who else did we have yesterday? Joanne Anderson. Don't know the lady. Obviously a Labourite lefty, and she sounds like a Marxist socialist type. So Joanne Anderson. Now, I didn't have nothing to say about her until Dylan Cresswell run in Liverpool, and Joanne and all the rest of the lefties bullied him and his mate out. And these are He's a candidate. He's standing in elections as an independent candidate, Dylan. And he's been bullied out of the council hall by Joanne Anderson and her cronies. Her cronies not having that. If you want to pick on a young lad in his 20s, you can do. I'm 54, Joanne Anderson, 54 me, and it won't be so easy for you to intimidate or bully me, right? You can do it on a little lad, a young, small lad, but let's see you try that kind of thing. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. And what we find out about Labour and the left is they're full of intimidation and bullying on weaker people. That's all they do. That's all they do. Deborah Abrams, we've had up. So Deborah Abrams said that anyone who's a Nazi should just go to jail with no court case, but doesn't say nothing about extremists threatening riots on Oldham streets. You don't say nothing about that over LGBT sex in school, sex education in schools. You don't say nothing about that. Then people are all right. They can go to court. And political correctness means no one will say nothing about it. The leader of Oldham Interfaith Forum, I haven't got his name on me, can't remember it. He's the one who went live on Northwest Tonight, said there could be riots in Oldham if we don't take sex education out of schools. That's what he said live on telly. I put the clip up, the facts are there. But Deborah Abrams said anyone who's anti-Semitic should go to jail with no court case and be ostracised or whatever. How barbaric is that? I thought we had law here where you go to court to see whether you're innocent or guilty. Not barbarian rules where you just chop them up. Honestly, just couldn't make it up. Couldn't make it up. Just that's still standing. There's been a few different companies, that mill over here. I've worked here a couple of times. I've worked there a couple of times. So that's Joanne Anderson. And I wasn't impressed with that. I think Dylan is a very capable young lad. He does good speeches. And he shouldn't really be treated like that. And I know Dylan well now for 4 years. And Dylan doesn't throw himself out like he's a thug or anything. Doesn't do anything like that. Yeah, that's how he got treated when he ran as a local candidate where Joanne Anderson was. And she thought she was so hard and brave and bad going on video saying, oh, thank you, security, for getting rid of the far-right candidate. Honestly, pathetic. If that's it, if my mum had seen you doing that, if my mum seen me doing that to any human being, my mum, she'd have disowned me. She'd disowned me. And if she could walk and all that, she'd have beat me with a stick, with a walking stick, for talking and treating somebody like that because you have a different view than you. Pathetic, honestly. This is why you Labour lot are going to fail. And Joanne Anderson, you're moving into a position in Liverpool where the former mayor is accused of all sorts of things. All sorts of things. And 100 million taxpayers' money is estimated to have been philandered away. And you're moving into that position. Labour and Liverpool, they don't have a good, consistent track record or anything like that. I haven't got on to the best of it yet. So these are senior members of political parties, and I'm calling them out on factual things. I can tell you another one. Anna Rothery, the decorative mayor of Liverpool, is a liar. I can tell you that because it's been proved. We've had a court case where the case got thrown out because she messed up in all her statements, and she lied. She said there was a car full of men shouting aggressively at her. Nothing like that. She said she was stalked from her house. Nope, she wasn't. So Anna Roper has been called out, and we'll do this on any politician who screws over people and says lies about members of the public, because that's what Anna Roper did. Lied about men. I've called her out loads of times. I haven't been arrested because everything I've said is true. There's a court case. You can talk to Tom, Kim Jones, Amber Bettison, hundreds of people, and they'll tell you that's what happened in the court case. So I'm not getting arrested for accusing her of something she didn't do. She lied. Anna Rothery, decorative mayor, lied. Honestly, okay now. Oh. Oh, I'm at Butler Green now, guys. Butler Green. There's a bail hostel down there. Well-known bail hostel. Let's flip the camera around. Out taps there. Another well-known pub round here. Another well-known pub round here. We didn't walk past it, but there's spotted up the top of Fields New Road or whatever it's called, Lansdowne Road. But yeah, it's a well-known pub that been a well-known pub around here. That for years. Bet there's some stories could be told about that. I've lived in the area a couple of times, and my granddaughter, my grandniece, my great-grandniece, Shania, mum lives around here, and her family from down here. I know a lot of people from the Chadderton area over the years. So yeah, Joanne Anderson, I think you're a bully. I'm not impressed with your stuff you did and the way you glorified yourself on the media. It's quite pathetic, actually, because there were only two lads there. There weren't a group of men. Wasn't one lad shouting abuse or anything like that. They weren't doing nothing wrong. You got them ejected, and then you had to make a statement. My mum, if my mum knew you or anything, she'd be very distasteful. My mum's a lovely person. Don't have to say nothing about against anybody, but you've got to treat human beings better. That's why my mum's a humanist, right? And you treat somebody like that, how disgraceful. You must think you look so tough and rock solid and that, but that is one of the most disgraceful acts I've seen. That actually, Joanne Anderson treating member of the public, someone who's got the right to be in that count like that, because you don't like his views. Don't like it. Honestly, I'll call you out all day long. Who else did we have there? Jim McManaman. He's a guy who relies on the block vote to get elected and stuff like that. And another person who just lives off political correctness as well. Does Jim McManaman. When Arut Sharper stood up to become a councillor and the men of her own community said he didn't do nothing, as a Labour leader, he should have been sacking people out of the Labour Party. Should have been kicking people out of the Labour Party for being like that with another person. But he didn't. And what you'll find, the left are very discriminative like that. Very discriminative like that with women, Jewish people. Jewish people. It's well known that in 2017-18 Labour conference, Um, one of the Jewish MPs had to have security. So they're just as politically correct on both sides. Deborah Abrams, as I said, Deborah Abrams said anyone being anti-Semitic should be locked up with no trial, no court case or anything. That's what she's tweeted, and the kind of support she tweets towards people who have a difference of opinion from her. And she's very undemocratic. A local candidate, a local independent candidate, a Moy Lindo, West Indian girl, was running in the 2019 general election and got invited just to one of the hustings, and she was an independent candidate for that area. Very well-known person around Oldham, and she only got invited to one hustings, ended up at another husting saying, why haven't I been invited? So this is Deborah Abrams, very undemocratic that, and that's not Amoy isn't anyone left or right. She's a West Indian who wants to stand up as an independent. I just know the girl. And Deborah Abrams thinks it's all right to do hustings without having all the candidates. What's she afraid of? Of one independent? She's afraid that they're gonna take her votes and stuff like that. Very undemocratic. Very undemocratic. I'll call you out all day long, Deborah Abrams, all of you. There's some other people there. Some people from Unite the Union. Someone put on Twitter said Antifa. But Unite the Union are the hard left, and they're the ones who are aggressive, will attack you. They want to cause physical damage to you more than any of the other kind of the left wingers. I've never said I wanted to cause damage to someone for having a different view. I mean, I get angry when people don't listen or listen to facts, and then they'll just accuse me and shout at me. But I don't remember ever saying to someone, because you've got that view, I'm going to beat you up. I've never said that to anybody. Never. I don't think I've ever inclined or said anything on that kind of lines, because it won't be how I'd work. I wouldn't hit somebody because they have a different view than me. I wouldn't do that. But the lefties will. The lefties will. The people in Oldham will. I'm expecting to get abuse off people on the street or in the town centre, but I'll handle it. I'll handle it. There won't be much. When they call your names, they've lost the argument and lost the battle then, because if they can't debate with you and tell you factual things, then they've lost the battle. And what people will see this all the time, because I'll be reporting it. I'll tell you what I've done. I'll show you the emails I've wrote to them and where they want to ignore me or they call me names. I'll show you all these things. All these things will come out. And if they ignore me, they ignore me. If they give me respect and talk to me and communicate me, which I know a lot will, then everything will be fine. But they'll be the ones who won't. They'll be the ones who won't. So, we've gone through a star-studded cast, sir. Star-studded. Star-studded. Joanne Anderson, new mayor of Liverpool, took Joe Anderson's job. Deborah Abrams, senior Jewish member of parliament, was done for bullying in the workplace, by the way, and got kicked off the back bench for it, accused of it. Jim McManaman, another senior Labour member of parliament, member of whatever shadow of some bullshit. And Angela Rayner, second in command, so she had a lot of support. But when you look at the pictures, there isn't many male Muslim men there. It just seems white people or mixed race and the odd Muslim-looking woman. But I don't see any men in the picture. But, it just might not have been a men day, a Muslim men day. But, we could go down that it's a politically correct route. We probably could. Probably could. So I'm at Butler Green, Coastal Green Road. I'll be here for a while. Anyone wants to come out and talk? You must have seen that the Labour lot were in your area yesterday. If you want to know more, if you want to know some real facts, come and find me. My email's there. johnlawrence40@hotmail.co.uk. Email me. If you're from South Chadderton, email me. Let me talk to you. Let me tell you some of the things that I know. Let me give you a couple of opinions. Let me educate you on a couple of things that go in that you're probably very unaware of. Very unaware of. So, Chadderton, Butler Green, Colshire Green Road, roundabout, next to Bucky's. I'm going to put my bag down. I'll roll the fag in a bit. I probably have to charge the thing up. So yeah, very star-studded cast for a route there, showing her support. A lot of the tweets and things like we're saying stand against hate and stuff like that, but it's not hate off white people, it's more hate off her own community. That's why she'd had to do this, to garner her support, to make it look good, but at the same time not dealing with the men who slandered her the first time she run. And I don't know what's happening with a car firebombing. I don't know what's happening obviously in a car firebombing. They had to arrest someone, so they arrested Raja Mia and tried making it look like he's involved in a lot of things. Honestly, these are the things that Labour will stoop to. And let me just tell you about a couple of things. Let's go back to the MEP trail. So Tommy went to Limeside. What did he do? The Labour Party allowed, and the police allowed, 200 masked men and youths to go into a residential area that's predominantly white and proceeded to throw missiles and everything, all organised by Gonzo, the Halifax goon who was seen outside Tameside magistrates. And a lot of them were from Halifax. But the Labour Party and the police allowed that in a residential area. And for a couple of weeks beforehand, it's going to turn you around to me. For a couple of weeks beforehand, that's what they said they was going to do. And the Labour Party and the police allowed it to happen. They allowed it to happen. So somebody who's running as a member of the European Parliament, they allowed 200 masked men and youths to go down onto that estate and proceed to throw bricks. They beat somebody up at the door who wasn't even part of anybody to do with the demonstration. He's someone who lived there. They beat him up on his doorstep. There's film off that going round. And the Labour Party allowed that in Oldham. And the Chief Inspector, whoever at the time, Q Division, you allowed that to happen. And that is just totally disgraceful. Is that how you're going to treat different communities and different people with allowing violence to be thrown at them? And don't forget, it was Big John who called out one of the local councillors in that area, Martin Judd, who came out after all this happened, and the way he was talking to the people there was that he knew that this was going to go on, and he knew that these guys were coming down. No one knew her arm. And what he said to the people who were there who seen him afterwards, I didn't know it was going to get this bad. So this is a Labour councillor who knew. Since then, he's off the Labour Party because he went up accused of indecent images of having kids. And Big John pointed that out to you when he got dropped from the Labour Party and were a bit silent. Then it's come out official that that's what he was up for. Now the charges have been dropped, apparently, so I don't think he's still in the Labour Party. And this is Martin John. Big John called him out. That first couple of days after that MEP tour, Big John called him out. And it weren't me who got the information, it was Patriots who got that information. One lad wrote down everything that had been told, even drew a map, a sketch of where people was at the time, and got it onto me a couple of weeks later. But thank you, Patriots who done that, not me. Patriots who got me the information, and then I put it out. And I know it's true because we know that now. There was multiple people who we talked to that night, that Martin Judd coming out. You know what I mean? If he was a braver man, he should have come out before that and talked to the people there. He wouldn't have been attacked or anything. But they would have said questions to him about stuff. Political correctness, one of them. So there's a lot going on in Oldham, a lot going on around Oldham. As I say, Angela Rayner there in Ashton, second in command at Labour Party at the moment. She's the one always going on about people's expenses when she has a big expenses list. And she's always, this is it with Labour, they like to attack over silly things. So all the while we've had this COVID thing on, Angela Rayner has been attacking people for their expenses and not dealing with COVID. Honestly, you just couldn't make it up, and to get away with it. How she got voted in as Member of Parliament for Ashton Underline is just unbelievable. So what's happening down Ashton? I said the other day, there's a shop that's been violent with people nearby. They've been leering over kids in the park behind them. There was two girls in school clothes in the back of that shop that I went near the other day about 2.5 years ago. It got filmed, and a guy went in with his missus. He went in and he called them out. He said you shouldn't have drunken schoolgirls in your back of the shop. This is a shop right hundreds of yards away from Angela Rayner's constituency that's heaped in violence towards the local community, and that. Friend of mine's got a case going on or something going on to do with that shop. Very violent. Don't say nothing about that. She don't say nothing about the bloodbath on the streets. 2 16-year-olds stabbing each other just 3 nights ago. Ashton, blood all over the floors of one of the shops. All the town centre cordoned off. And when I went talking to a taxi driver, Pakistani taxi driver, he said it were 2 black lads chasing a white lad. That's what he said. I never said that. That's what the taxi driver said to me. But we just don't know the ins and outs of the case. It might not end up that. But that's what the taxi driver said. I went talking to these people. As soon as he seen me with my camera, he wanted to know. I said, I'm here about that crime the other night. It happens all the time. He said, there's always stabbings. Hurst Cross area. A guy pulled me up in the market. I said, he went, excuse me, do you have a YouTube channel? I went, yeah. He said, I've seen you on streams and that in Manchester. And he said, Hurst Cross area in Ashton. I don't know anything about the Hurst Cross area, so maybe that's another trip up there, and then we can do a recce of the area and get some information on it. But he said it's highly violent. She don't talk about any of this, Angela Rayner. She don't talk about the impact that immigration has had on Ashton. And what I mean by the impact is poverty, because a lot of the people coming over here are poor, so they don't work, which increases council tax in towns like Oldham. And Oldham's got £500 million benefit bill yearly. And Ashton's going that way. And the importation of people who don't work and who are poor is adding to all this. You don't say any of that kind of effect. And I mean, race and genetics, people go on about race and things like that. And the left is, everyone's the same, but we're not all the same. We're not all the same. There is a show coming up, and I'll talk about it on the show, but we're not all the same. We work the same way and we look similar. That's it in human beings. And around 50% of Pakistani families in the UK still marry within the cousins, which gives the fact that there's more disabled children. And how we can prove that is that Oldham has one of the highest stats in the country for that kind of thing. And it is because of inter-family generational breeding, inter-family generational marriages. And the same's going on in Birmingham. There's a high rate there. But Oldham employs people. We pay people money, yearly money, a salary, to tell, to say to these people that you know, you're going to cause problems within your family. You're going to have more kids with disabilities. We pay. Oldham pays people to tell people that. That's what we do. So we can put that down to integration problem. There's no integration. We can put that down to a cultural problem. You can say religious if you want, but certainly cultural. And these things are affecting Oldham. Oldham has the highest social care workforce in the UK and in England. So there's more carers in Oldham and Greater Manchester than there is in the rest of the country. Certainly so in Oldham. Just a few of the things, and why have we got that social care? Because there's that many people who are disabled and things like that, learning difficulties and stuff like that. That's why. Yes, Peter. Hi, Yvonne. Yvonne, thank you for that, Yvonne. 23% of ethnic minorities in Oldham. Oldham is the third on a list of UK for benefit dependency. It is. It is. And how do I know that Yvonne's right there? It's because I've told you these figures before. There's 4 areas in the top 10 of the UK, and they're in Oldham, of benefits and poverty and stuff like that. And Yvonne's figures will relate to that. But thank you for that, Yvonne. Thank you. Yes, Marie. Mercu. I Love Oldham Labour Facebook page closed off comments regarding Afghanistan immigrants. No freedom of speech in Oldham. There isn't, no. There isn't, Yvonne. Cupid watched as it was happening. That I'm guessing that would have been. Yes, John Rankin. I'm good, brother. I'm Vin. Mum's doing great. We're moving. We're moving on to Edgerton Street. I just had a look at the house today. There's a lot of decorating to do, but it's bigger. We've got more room for my mum. That's priority. So, and I'll get a real bed as well. So yeah, there's a lot of issues that they don't tell you that are going on in Oldham that they won't tell you. I've just given you a few, mate, and I've talked about many other issues. There's economic issues, what they're doing with the stuff in Oldham Town Centre. And when you talk to people in Oldham who've had shops and that in the town centre, what they'll tell you, and I knew this for years, not just lately, this is for years, this is that how expensive the rates are for having a shop in Oldham. It's really difficult to get good. Now, we've bought out the shopping centre. I don't know the whole economic scale of everything. I have put up graphs and I have talked about stuff many a times to do with the economics and building Oldham as a workplace. But we don't have any workplaces in Oldham. Just recently, Shop Direct have moved, and there was the biggest single employer in Oldham, and especially at Christmas time, could always get a job there and earn some decent money. Gone, and they were the last biggest. They were the biggest employer for amount of people throughout the year in Oldham. They're gone now. We don't have anything here. There's nothing here. What I can tell you is we have a lot of fucking chicken shops. We have a lot of chicken shops, kebab houses, fast food, and a thing like that. But there is nothing, work-wise, there is nothing in Oldham. Parkcakes is still here, but that's on the temp contract thing. That's no good to work there. If you want to try and earn money or you want to work full-time, you might want to get 2 days a week work. It depends what skills you got. I mean, I've got mixing skills. I work on the mixers at Parkcakes, so I reckon if I went, I'm just going to answer. I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. So, we're real to, yeah, Parkcakes, yeah, but it's temp contracts now. No good. You might want to get 2 days out of a week. There's a lot of that. And prices and wages are down because of the kind of people we have. We don't have skilled people. There's no skilled people coming here on immigration. They're all poor people and they're soaking up benefits, not just in Oldham, across the country, really. And coming out of the lockdown thing, we're already economically unstable. And it's just going to add to our disaster. So, Culture Greenshaw Road, I'm still here. I'm going to make a smoke in a minute. But yeah, so it's Angela Rayner, Deborah Abrams. Remember, Deborah Abrams said if you're anti-Semitic or they consider you a Nazi, you don't get no court appearances, you don't get no justice, you just get locked up. That's what she supported on a tweet. That's what she supported on a tweet. And this is a person who got accused of workplace bullying and got kicked off the backbench. And thingy, she's undemocratic. She doesn't have everyone at the hustings. I'm hoping and I expect to be invited to every hustings that I go to do with my constituent. If I don't, then it just tells me that that's what I'll tell people, is that they're not democratic and they don't care about anyone's voices if they don't agree with you. And I'm gonna sort these hustings out. And we're gonna try and have a fair Oldham where you get invited to all the hustings. It's just undemocratic and unfair to keep people out of hustings. I'll give you a prime example of someone who's not right wing or left wing, Jamaican ancestry, who was kept out of hustings because she was running as an independent in the 2019 general election. And this isn't anyone white. This isn't a white supremacist. This isn't a Nazi. This isn't an Islamophobe. It's nobody like that. It's just a person who wants to do better in her town, and she was kept out of hustings. And because she doesn't like Labour and she's not a socialist and she don't want to go down that route. Yeah, honestly, you just couldn't make it up. And this is what it's like living in England now, where it's so undemocratic. So, so there was a star-studded cast around South Chadderton yesterday. Like I said, we've got Joanne Anderson, the Mayor of Liverpool, took Joe Anderson's job. Deborah Abrams, Jim McManaman, Angela Rayner, the Labour Party second in command. But there weren't many Muslim men on the picture. Let me just tell you that there weren't many. I'm just saying, she is Muslim. You'd expect a few, but there weren't a lot there. But that's another thing. So I'm going to do more of this. I want leaflets. I'm going to get some leaflets printed out about Oldham. Get a table out and talk to people at the Asda, round here, at all the main little areas. I'm going to just go around and talk to them, mate, about Oldham. I'm not saying I'm absolutely clued up on everything in every single area, but Oldham's my town. I've lived in a lot of these areas. A lot of my friends live in these areas. Like I say, I'm just 5 minutes walk away from Shania, my grandniece, who everyone knows, from her family's. White side of families area is down here, and I'm just 5-10 minutes away. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm in South Chadderton. Email me. Got an email there. If you're from South Chadderton, email me. If you want to talk to me, I'll come to your house or something. We'll talk. If you want to stand up to be a candidate in elections, you can also. I'll talk to you about that. But there's many groups that are standing up in elections. Pride of Oldham and Saddleworth group. I've got prospective councillors across Oldham and a good wide range of prospective councillors. Look into them. I've got a Facebook page. When my party's ready, look into my party. We'll have links to a website and stuff like that you can look at. But we want people to stand up and vote. I'll give you a bit of advice. Can give you some basic advice. If you want advice about voting, I can give you some advice, can tell you where to go. If you have a problem with your postal vote or your vote, if something's not written out, I can guide you to these places and tell you where to go. If you're unsure whether you can vote and it's an election coming up, just go to the voting station and give your details that they ask for. And they'll tell you whether you're registered or not. A lot of the times, what you'll find, if you lived in your house for a long period of time, 5 years or more, you will be registered on the electoral roll, especially if you've been paying council tax. But if you've just moved recently, then you do have to go into the office to register quicker. But if you've lived in your property for a long period of time, you will find out a lot of the times that you are registered to vote. You might not get a voting card. You can if you don't get a voting card, you're wondering why, because you got one last time. Phone up the electoral office, the local electoral office. They'll be able to tell you, sort your stuff out on phone. On voting day, you can go to the electoral office, Town Centre Oldham. There's one at the Civic Centre there. Then there might be the odd office down here. You should be able to find all the electoral things, and go inquire and go and check on your vote and things. So I want to talk to people who think they're going to stand up and try and be counted and be a councillor. If you want to get involved in a new kind of politics, again, look into me. Look into some of the other independent groups. Like I said, I'll have to say, because they are in Oldham, and I've met them, some of them proud of Oldham and Saddleworth. You've got the Failsworth Independent Group in Failsworth. They've managed to get 2 councillors in. East Failsworth, West Failsworth. They've managed to get 2 independent councillors in. And the group sounds like it's well run. They sound passionate and stuff like that. Look into them if you're in the Failsworth area. Look into the Failsworth Independent Group. Around Oldham, proud of Oldham and Saddleworth. Look into the independent groups. Mine will be out soon. But mine's not an independent group. I'm a political party. I will be the leader of my own political party. Like Jeremy Corbyn is Keir Starmer is a leader of the Labour Party. John Lawrence is a leader of the XXXX political party. So that's my next step. Getting into politics, being leader of my own political party and running as a councillor. Oh, Failsworth Independents have 3 councillors now. Oh my God. That is so good. My solution, Misty, thank you for joining my solutions. Obviously, I'll have local solutions. Our party is a housing party. The housing party, we want a house at an affordable price for every citizen, because we've got a rubbish housing thing. A lot of the tourist housing, Misty, in Oldham are too small. Yvonne will tell you that a lot of the tourist houses in Oldham are too small. We need massive redevelopment on housing, and that's for anybody. That's for everyone who's here. So the housing party, house for everyone at an affordable price. We know that, and we've got a lot of foreign-owned properties here from whatever countries. We want them back. We want them for us. And if it's housing, we want them for people who are in Britain for their housing. We don't want them for a Chinese company or something like that. Or the housing we have in England is for people who are here, no matter who they are. So we will be prepared to buy housing back at whatever price they paid for it, off anybody who's not any kind of foreign company or anything like that in England, because the houses here should be for the people in England, in the UK, not for people who are 2,000 miles away. So that's something. But we've got it all down. Well, it's early days, yeah. We're not even registered. We have got the application in, and we have got the application in. And obviously, many people who know my background and know, and I was talking last night with me, the co-founder, and I want to overhaul on the social services. We need to look into our social services, the way it's run, because I've seen too much abuse on children through the social services. I've missed it, can tell you there. And there's lots of failings within that system. That's going to be something that's going to be close to me heart. So that will end up coming into our party on a vote, some kind of policy. These all have to be made up. But at the moment, we're just starting off basic. And we want a house, an affordable house for every citizen in the UK. Our housing is substandard. Let me just look at some tourist houses here behind me. There's some tourist houses over the road there. 2-3 bedrooms. Misty, we need a lot more 4-bedroomed houses now. We need a lot of 4-bedroomed houses. The old tourists aren't gonna run it through. What they've done in Oldham is scrub the council list and just said that priority for housing is for overcrowding and poverty. So that's what they've done in Oldham. But we have too many old tourist houses, and we need a really big redo. But we have a lot of residential properties that are owned by foreigners outside of our country, when really the housing in the UK should be for UK nationals, should be from people who live in the UK. And I think everyone can agree with that. Everyone can agree with that. Yeah. Honestly, that's another issue. Chinese are buying stuff up, and they're buying people stuff over here, and that shouldn't be allowed. If there's housing and flats here, they should be for British citizens. How can they be for people who are not here? How can they be for people who are not British citizens? And how can we have foreign companies owning that property? That shouldn't be right in our own country. It shouldn't be right in anybody's country. Not just ours, guys. That shouldn't be right in anyone's country. So, and we've had a problem with housing for years, so why aren't we looking at the solutions for it? But that's the biggest thing on our party, is we're the housing party, Misty. That's what we want to call it, the housing party. We have to have something to go behind, and a lot of people will agree that our housing isn't good enough. It's not good enough for the 21st century. Some of these houses are over 100-year-old down here. That can't be good for a standard now. 100-year-old. So we're on Colshire Green Road. Lots of old tourist houses going down there. These might be a bit bigger. They might have 3-bedroomed. I could take you to Oldham, where all the tourist houses are only 2-bedroomed, and that's not big enough for houses no more. It isn't. It's not big enough for families. They need bigger than that. So I'm still here, Butler Green Road area, Chaddy. Let me have a look at the thing. Yes, Daniel. Aye. So yeah, the housing part, that's what we're going to be classed at. Misty, so where are you, Misty? Where are you travelling to now? You're still on your canal trip? So yeah, Star studied cast here yesterday, all in support of Arut's, yeah. And she, all the things she's putting up, that she's thank you for all the support during this hard time, because I'm a victim of people calling me out in Oldham. So just let me get some. Let me just get through something else. So, I mean, I won't criticise, or I'll shout down or call out anyone unless I think they've done something pretty serious. So during COVID, as many of you in here now, who grandparents who couldn't see their grandkids. My friend Dave, Mank Dave, is the grandkids of the his kids just live just a couple of miles down the road, and they were that. The grandparents were that indoctrinated with what's going on that they wouldn't have the kids round at their house or anything. This is their own family. This is their own family bubble that they've been in all the time, that they go round to all the time. They weren't allowed to go down. So what they were saying is that your grandkid can't go to your grandma's house or anything like that because of COVID. You have to lock down. I remember them shutting one at pubs in one at villages in up at the top end of Oldham, shut one pub because it brought COVID lockdown. Then in Wearmouth, the number one COVID in Wearmouth, there was 2 or 3 areas all during COVID that were high in cases. Wearmouth was one of them. They had a charity football match with 16 football teams, and the pictures didn't see them. In the pictures of afterwards, when they're getting their awards and that, they weren't needing no masks or anything like that. So people have pointed it out. And what Arut Shah's done is said that it's good. The fears of racism again because of Wearmouth Park and the charity football match. But it's all right. But I just don't get it, me. They're telling us that my granddaughter, my mum's great-granddaughter couldn't come round and see her. And my mum brought Shania up. Shania spent loads of time with my mum. And she couldn't come round and see me mum. But 16 football teams in a charity football match. And it wouldn't have been all been from the same area. These people would have been from all over, were allowed to have a charity football match. So when is that right? When is that right? When is that right? Called it out, mate. I never said anything about what colour anyone was. What I said was about COVID. So we're being pushed that COVID is so serious, but they allow 16 football teams to have a charity football match in Wearmouth, which was one of the number one COVID hotspots. So, and Miss Arut Shah, you go on like you've done well on COVID. That's not a very good example at all. That's really not a very good example. That is a disgraceful example. That is a disgraceful example about managing COVID. And then what you said, fears of racism because of it. No one's being racist. We're just calling, this is what it is with political correctness and identity politics. They just shout race at you to shut you up. Well, there's nothing racist about that statement. And if I ever make a speech to the council, I'll talk about that. I'll talk about that. I'm preparing a speech now. I might not get a councillor position, but I'll try. And I won't just try once, I'll try several times. I'm only 54. We've got councillors who are over 70, so I can try for another 20 odd years, me. I'm physically fit as well. And I don't have any back pain. I don't need a walking stick or anything like that. So I've got plenty of times to try. And I'll try again. If I fail, I'll do whatever. If I get one vote, I'll try again and get more. I'll try again and get more. And I'll only get better. I'll only get better at it. I'll only get better at it. I won't get worse. I'll get better at it. I've got a really good track record on canvassing. I've talked about it many a times. I've done Rowley Regis area. And we've got Paul Rudge 200 votes short of getting it in as an independent. And they were that scared after that. They went on a campaign to get him sacked out of his job and everything, and he ended up passing away a couple of years later. But I spent weeks down there, and I got him 200 votes after beating a Labour candidate. I've gone and supported Daniel Simpson, Freedom for Britain, in the chat in Barnsley. Had a great time. I learned a lot off Daniel. Definitely, certainly knows his stuff, so I learned a lot off Daniel. So I've got some skills. So let's hope I can put them to good use and do something worthwhile. Antonella Venice, I love. Misty, yeah, you're right. Honestly, well, that's been a big issue, that. Let's look at it as a whole, right? What happened? They were letting people back from Pakistan, India, other parts of the world. I don't know if they had tests. I don't know if these people had to isolate for 10 days or anything. I don't know anything like that. But they let thousands. And what's going on at Dover as well, the people coming over here with no control. So no wonder COVID's going to get worse. And if COVID's going to get worse and worse through things like that. And you're right. It looks like a lot of them haven't been no precautions or anything like that. The football, in the football, they allowed 30,000 Scottish people to come to London. Then London suddenly had a big surge in COVID cases. Well, wouldn't that be through allowing 30,000 people down to central London, to Wembley? Remember, that's what they did. And then a couple of days later, Nicola Sturgeon says, we're on full lockdown. Honestly, it's just a failure across the board. So if you do believe there is COVID, you've had the jab. It's been a failure on the organisation and the way they've dealt with it. It's been a total failure. That's one of my big issues with it. It's one of my big issues with it is how they failed in doing all the things. We should have had a full lockdown, and we should have been given each county should have been given separate control. So Greater Manchester Council should have controlled Greater Manchester. Merseyside Council should have controlled Merseyside. I always thought that independent, separate, like, rather than it coming from Boris Johnson, because I know he's in London, but what does he know about the ins and outs of Greater Manchester if he's not the mayor of Greater Manchester or in the council? How can he know how better it is or whatever? So we should have had separated control of the lockdown, but they failed on loads of places, Misty. I agree. I'm not an anti-vaccine or an anti-vaxxer. I'm just not ready for mine yet, but they've fucking failed, and they've not told us everything properly, and I think they've been bullshitting on some of the figures, which it just isn't good enough. If they'd have been a bit more truthful. All I've seen through the pandemic is Labour attacking Conservative and Conservative having to defend themselves every time. There's not been Labour working with Conservative. I've pointed this out loads of times. I haven't seen the cooperation that I expect from the two major political parties in the UK. Angela Rayner just kept going on about other people's expenses all throughout the COVID. There's been a really nasty things said by Labour lot against Conservatives. I'm no fan of the Conservatives. I've never have been. I've told you this many a times, but they are in government power now. But shouldn't the other political parties work with the main political party when we've got a pandemic or whatever you believe? They should come working together, but they haven't. I pointed this out loads of times. It's just been that person shouting at that person shouting at. That's all it's been through this pandemic that I've seen, and I've said it many times on my streams, mate, many times. Greater Manchester is housing them. There's some coming here. A few thousand, as far as I know, but they are a couple of thousand. So Big John, I'm down at Butler Green, South Chadderton. Yesterday we had a star-studded performance for Arut Shah. Joanne Anderson, new mayor of Liverpool, took Joe Anderson's job. Reaped in scandal, £100 million gone from Liverpool Council, filtered away. There's also accusations of threats, bullying, intimidation, all throughout that council. So Joanne Anderson took over that position. Personally, I think she's a bully because she bullied out Dylan Cresswell, young Dylan, out of the count at Anfield in the elections. And Dylan's only a small lad. He's not big. He doesn't drink beer and throw cans at anyone or anything like that. Don't do nothing like that. He does some pretty good speeches. He's done some pretty good speeches. I've got a lot of respect for Dylan. He's standing up and he's been bullied out of the count hall by Joanne Anderson and all the lefties there. And I'm pledging this. As long as I haven't got nothing on myself, I'll pledge my support to Dylan in Liverpool. If he wants me to be a vote agent, I'll be a vote agent. If you want me to get a couple of guys to come with me, no problem, mate. I'm pledging that to you. As long as I'm not doing nothing myself, I will pledge some kind of support to you in whatever you do. Whether you're a member of my party or not, you'll get a bit of support, mate. We're not standing for that kind of thing off senior people like Joanne Anderson and other people, Anna Rothrow. We're not standing up for that kind of intimidation and harassment. It's not called for. It's not wanted. It's very undemocratic, and it's not British. It's not. But I don't expect a decent British person to react like that to somebody else because of the different view. I don't expect that. I do expect it off indoctrinated lefties, but the general British person, I don't expect. I mean, I told you, my mum had her faculty. She'd be disgraced at some of the way some of our politicians act and the way they are with people. And she'd be right to, because that's what they're like. The lefties, threats, intimidation, bullying, silence, political correctness, appeasement, that's the left. The right have violence in them. I'm not going to say they don't. It's not as majority as the left, but aggression. And what I get. I remember once we're in Manchester with James, and a guy pointed at me, this Muslim-looking guy pointed at me, said, "You better go and get a job instead of being here every week." And at the time I worked full time. I worked full time in Rochdale, and it was a Saturday, and I had to be held back by Jim Edwards, and two policemen because I wanted to have a go at him for saying that I worked full time. Then another person said something to me. When I'm a 24-hour carer for my mum, I hardly get any time out. I'm chained up at my mum's house 6 days a week. A lot of you will know that. It's difficult to, I don't always talk about it, but it's difficult to do the stuff that I do with my mum, especially when I have to change and deal with her on a personal level. But, I'm not mourning. I love to do it right. But then he said to me that I should have a job. Well, I'm looking, do we not look after our parents? Do we not look after our ill family members? Is that the lines we go down now? We forget the old and our mothers and fathers, and we go carrying on with our lives. No, my life stopped when my mum got iller. My life stopped, and her end of her life has started now. We're going to make the best end of her life for her that she can ever have. We'll go all out for her. That's what I want to do for my mum. I'll be ready to go to work when I've finished looking after my mum. So just be careful how you talk to me and some of the things you said, because you'll get me riled up if you're going to do personal things like that when I can prove I've worked all my life. But yeah, so thank you very much for tuning in. I'm headed off back up to Oldham now. Got my mum this afternoon, and we've got to get ready for moving. You're certainly right, Mercury. It does. Thank you, Tina. I'm full of it. I've put a lot of these links up before, and I never really say anything unless I have looked at figures or a link that's coming. I do have my own personal opinions, but I've told you why I think Joanne Anderson's a bully, because of what she done with Dylan, and that's a fair enough assessment of my own personal opinion. To tell you that that's what I think she is, a bully and an intimidator, because people have a different view than are on the different spectrum, and that is really pathetic. I'm not like that, me. I will be like that if you attack me and stuff. But if you want to talk to me and you're a lefty, honestly, I'm open. You just got to email me. Email me. We'll get in contact and I'll talk to you. Obviously, there's some things we're not going to agree on, but I'm guessing a lot of things we will agree on. And that goes towards anyone who thinks I'm a racist or a right winger or far right. You will find out that I do agree with a lot of the stuff you said, and I do have my opinion. But again, I don't say these things unless the fact. You heard Yvonne Uruk in the chat telling you about the percentage of these. We've proved these many a times. These facts, because of poverty, immigration, we have in less people work, more council tax on the rest of the country. More council tax on the rest of the town, and a bigger benefit bill. And Oldham's benefit bill is £500 million a year, one of the highest in the country. There's only a few other places higher than it. And it's like that across Yorkshire, high poverty, Birmingham, high poverty. But yeah, but I'm going. Thank you very much for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. I'm in lovely Chadderton. And again, there's been a star-studded cast yesterday in a Roots Shires campaign to keep in. Might do some work in South Chadderton, actually, some canvassing myself. If you're in South Chadderton, you want to stand up as a councillor, like I said, you can contact Fieldsworth Independent Group, Pride of Oldham and Saddleworth for the bit of be your best bet in Chadderton. My party when it finally comes out, but you'll get more information about that as it comes. But you can contact these people now if you feel like you want to stand up. Don't feel intimidated or bullied. It's good fun, actually, getting into the voting scene and seeing how the other side works. I've done detailed videos on it. I went to Barnsley and told you what went on in Barnsley and things like that. It's really interesting to get into it. You might think voting's rigged, but it's up to us to change it. I'm going to be asking for more transparency in the voting thing. When the postal votes go to the post office, is there a security guard there making sure they go into sealed boxes and things like that? I don't even know that, but there might not be. There could be. But I want to see these processes happening myself, and then it's up to us to change these processes. If there's 3 independent councils in Fieldsworth, they can push to change bits of processes in their constituency, in their ward. They can do that if they're the dominant force in that particular ward. So you can change things. Right, I'm going, everyone. I'm going. I spent an hour down here. If you want to contact me, johnlawrence40@mail.co.uk. Especially about voting or anything, talk to me. I'll give you some advice if I can. I'll pass you on to somewhere where you might get a bit more advice. I've never said I've never ever said that I can help you in everything. I can just guide you, give you a bit of information, bit of my own personal knowledge and stuff like that. I can do that very well. So, johnlawrence40@mail.co.uk. We had someone on in Rochdale the other day who come on and said, I don't know my identity, when I was talking about No View, white paedophile, Cyril Smith, the Rochdale Free. So I don't know where he's coming from there. He sounds a bit like lefty, that like he has to throw that in to say about identity politics. Identity politics, that's what he was playing. If someone said to me, I don't know my identity, they're playing identity politics with me. That's what it is. You know what I mean? I know who I am. I know where I'm from, and I know my history and my ethnicity. I'm very well clear. I'm not a person who doesn't know where he stands. That I think a lot of people, these young people these days, don't know where they stand. I know where I stand. I'm 54 years old. I'm not in my 20s. I'm not 30. I'm not 40. I'm 54 years old. I've had a nice, good, long experience of a life in Oldham. I'm knowledgeable on a certain lot of certain issues and stuff like that. The ab crocodile, you're right. Many have fallen. I'm not falling. I'm still going strong, mate. Oh, right. I might head to tram stop. I think the better way to get back to Oldham. So I've been in South Chadderton today, ladies and gentlemen. I talked about the star-studded cast that Marut Shah had out for her. Star-studded, and I've given you an opinion on a bully, which is Joanne Anderson, because she bullied. She must have felt dead hard getting the far right candidate thrown out of the counter at Liverpool. She must have felt dead hard then. She must have felt like she's a champion woman of the world. Actually, my mum would have just thought you were just disgraceful. That's what my 85-year-old mum would have thought about you. She would have thought that was so disrespectful and disgraceful from a grown woman. From a grown woman to treat somebody like that, honestly, we do. I'm not forgetting that incident, and I've said it already. I'm going to phone Dylan up when I get home, and I'm pledging that he's going to get some support when he runs again as a councillor. Even if he's not in my party, I'm going to pledge him some kind of support. That's what I'm going to do for Dylan. I like Dylan. Lovely, intelligent lad. I hardly write a speech out. Dylan writes all his own speeches out that he has for his demos and things like that. Knowledgeable, very factual and figurey. And he shouldn't be. Nobody's running as a councillor who wants to stand up should be treated like that. The first time I come across it was in Blackpool, and a woman come up to me, and her 18, 19-year-old son had stood up to run as a UKIP representative. I don't know where it were, Bolton or Bury or something like that. And it'd been abused verbally and everything. The local Labour candidate absolutely ripped into him, accused him of all sorts of stuff, and she just really put him down. So this is a grown woman on an 18, 19-year-old. This is how a grown woman just like Joanne Anderson treated Dylan, grown woman thinking she's dead hard and powerful and all that, and done a disgraceful, absolutely unhumane thing. We don't forget things like this. We're not going to forget things like this. And I can prove it that we've put Anna Roffery. Anna Roffery got the same kind of treatment. We took her to court and the case got thrown out because she's a liar. Now, if you're a liar, you're going to get called out as a liar. I just want to go on to one more thing. Richard Farnell, ex-two-time Labour leader in Rochdale, has died. So if you look around and in the papers and that, it's getting tributes here and stuff like that. So this is a guy, Richard Farnell, this is a guy who knew that child abuse on white kids by white people like Cyril Smith was going on in No View Home in Rochdale, right? He never said anything. And he never said anything. So that's unaccountability and that's unforgivable. So, and that people are praising him for his good work as a council leader. No, there's no good work there, mate, when you're covering up child abuse. There's nothing to do with anyone of any colour. This is white people, No View. I want in the chat now, you can question me, but Google up No View Rochdale. Google up No View Rochdale. So a councillor serving council leaders lied to an official inquiry about child abuse on white kids by Cyril Smith, one of them, and other white scumbag paedophiles And then he gets praise off people who've worked with him and all that. No praise for Richard Farnell. I mean, it's on my Twitter. It's pinned on my Twitter. You'll see Billy Pag UK going mad over it. No. It does mention about the inquiry that he lied, but it's not good enough. There's never no accountability. Remember, it's the Rochdale councillors and the Rochdale police who said that the girls are prostitutes in the 3 girls case. That's what the Rochdale police and the Rochdale councillors said. If you don't believe me, go and look at Maggie Oliver's stuff. Go and look at her stuff because she says it in there. So the councillors said that it was a lifestyle choice for the girls, making them prostitutes. That's what the police and the council said in Rochdale. He was leader. He's been a leader there, not over that particular time, but he's been a leader there, and that's what all these councils are like: political correctness, and they won't call a spade. They'll call it a fork instead. This is what we're in, ladies and gentlemen. We have to get rid of it. I've gone on for an hour and a half. Nice. Yep, Cyril Smith was friends with Jimmy Savile. He certainly was. You can imagine what them 2 pedos got up to. I hate that word. But anyway, I'm in South Chadderton. I'm actually going to knock on Shanea's mum's door, actually. See if they're in. I just might stop for a wee or a pee or something. So yeah, South Chadderton tram stop here. What do I know about that? It was called the spice stop. So what people were doing, they arrested a couple of guys for dealing spice, and they was coming out of Manchester on tram, collecting spice and going back. So it had the unofficial nickname of the spice stop, and that's at Chadderton. Then the next one up is Freehold, where there was a 57-year-old man kicked 100 times to his head and body by 3 under 16-year-olds, and they were Pakistani Muslims. And in the police report, they said they did it because they felt like it. Now, Warkettle is a For Britain member, was up at that time and was going to a demo. UKIP in Rochdale, it were. UKIP, DFLA and Veterans Against Terrorism in Rochdale with Red Pill Phil. And I went down picking him up on tram. So this is about 3 weeks after the incident with the guy who's been kicked in. So I went down, and then I went down, and while we were on the tram and was talking about it, going past the stop, a black guy took his headphones off and said, I overheard you. Said, I were on the tram that night. So can you tell me what happened? He said, well, the tram had started off and the doors were shut. So the men were trying to open the doors. The women on the tram were crying. And some of the guys was getting upset and angry because on the other side of the tracks where the tram was, there was a 57-year-old white guy getting kicked 100 times to his head and body by 3 under 16-year-olds. And that's what he said. And I've no reason not to believe him. Why should I not believe him? He said that he's overheard us talking about it and said that he was on the tram that night and that's what happened. They couldn't open the doors. The women on the tram started crying. The guys were getting upset. So they've had to go through a few minutes of watching a guy getting kicked 100 times to his head and body by 3 teenagers. Now, how would that affect anybody who had to witness that? How would that affect anyone? That'd be devastating. I can imagine them women and then guys who were on the tram are still nightmares about the stuff that I wouldn't be good. I mean, if someone didn't want to go on the tram because that's what they felt it was so dangerous, I don't blame them. That's what goes on around Oldham. That's what's gone on in a couple of miles from here. Right, listen, guys, I'm going. I've got to get home. I'll catch up with you very soon. Thank you for tuning in. I hope my information's been good. If you look on me if you look around on my YouTube and Facebook, I put a lot of the links up to everything that I've talked about. And I will continue. So just watch my stuff, like and subscribe. If you want to donate anything, I've got a PayPal account there. My social media links are on the bottom. I'm from Gab. I'm on a lot of different platforms. I'm live streaming to 7 platforms today as well, 7 or 8. But I'll catch up with you all soon and have a nice Sunday, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.